I hope you guys are having yourself a good day. Y'all making me work on my break, but I was reading Kubera and I said, you know what? I did see in the comment section that a lot of you guys were telling me to check out Dr. Bonehead's video on the BAM fight that happened recently because he said that it made sense. So I want to see what he had to say. Just understand there's no. Some of you guys are very weird and like drama. There's no drama. There's no beef. There's none of that's here. I just want to hear the man's opinion, and I'm going to react to it. So let's hop right in. Like, subscribe, hit the bell of dawn. Let's get it.
A little something like eeny, meeny, right from the beginning. Smoke a little pack, but the pack never timid. Church, but I'm seeing it. Curse when I'm winning. She need a new back. When it's back, I'ma bend it. Slap up some guinea, pass me the henny. Watch a nigga black super yak, I'ma quit it. Swerve in the Benzie, perfume is Fendi. Bobbin' move fast, real fast like I'm Ricky. That's 'cause I'm pretty, came from the dirt. Shovel up a nigga, can't handle the work. Ooh, y'all, swing with it first. Young white girl like a Rambo.
One of the things that I find so odd about these newest chapters of Tower of God is that a lot of people have been complaining about the Bomb and Lilial fight. And I say fight in quotation marks because, as we all know, it wasn't even really a fight. It was a one-sided offensive by Lilial, while Bomb did nothing but defend. He didn't once fight back. The one time he even thought about fighting back, he chose not to. And a lot of people take issue with the fact that Lilial was able to supposedly damage Bomb, and Bomb was unable to fight.
This is so unrelated to the video, but is that like a remix of Beneath the Mask from Persona 5? Because it's moving me. I can't tell if it's the Rain variant, but I like. Yo, send me that. I want that.
I don't know, there's been a lot of complaints about this fight, and I want to address them because, in my opinion, everything about this fight not only makes sense in the chapter's perspective, but also if you look back on all the chapters of Tower of God that SIU has written, he has set this up. It makes perfect sense. So let's start at the beginning, right? There are two main reasons why this fight makes sense, in my opinion. The first one is super obvious, so I'm going to get it out of the way. Bomb isn't trying, right? And we all know this, even the people who have an issue with this.
All right, that's so fair. We all know you're not trying, but all right, yeah.
Fight know this, so I'm not going to harp on it for a very long time, but obviously Bomb isn't trying. He's not using the blue or red Thrissa. There's no Thorn or Souls. There's no Leviathan, right? None of his powers are being activated, and not only that, he's not using Shinsu.
He's barely defending himself.
Right? Maybe he used it to contain her Shinsu explosion, maybe, but even then it wasn't really shown. So at the very least, maybe that. But he's not using Shinsu, right? He's not counterattacking with Shinsu, and he's not defending with Shinsu. At the very most, he's putting up his fists and just blocking the attack, right? So that's an obvious one. The main point is my second one, which is the fact that Lilial Jahad is a princess. Now, this might not mean a lot to you because your counter is, well, Bomb is an irregular. He's just got done fighting.
No, this is not a bad point because their bodies are as strong as rankers from the time they go through the procedure. And if you recall, one of the examples I like to use a lot to showcase this is that when Bam and couldn't keep up with Andorsey on the bridge of the Name Hunt Station when Karaka and Yuri were fighting without using Shinsu reinforcement. She can just run faster than them naturally, and they could, I think if I remember correctly, they can barely keep up, and they were using a Shinsu boost. I think I know where he's going with this, but we'll see.
Haigh-Rankers, right? Even Cha comments this and says, no, you don't understand if you saw the battle at the nest, right? But then Bomb cuts him off. So it's obvious that Bomb is strong enough to take on a princess who's a regular. That's not my point. My point is, if you read Tower of God, if you look at Season 1, you look at all these chapters, SIU makes it clear that princesses have something really special about them. Princesses have the blood of Jahad, and this blood is so powerful that Jahad cannot have kids because the kids won't survive because the blood is so powerful.
If I remember correctly, though, the procedure of blood and the power of blood is not literally injecting his blood into people, though. It's some roundabout procedure, but I don't think it's literally his blood. I could be remembering that wrong, but I'm pretty sure that it's not. They couldn't even handle the power of his blood too. But the point is still taking. They become really strong through the procedure that Gustan came up with.
And so, Gustang and Jahad, they work together, they inject princesses with his blood, and that's how he adopts these princesses, and that's how the whole princess system got started. Thank Gustang. Gustang is the one who developed that, right?
Shut up, Paul
So,
Badal.
the reason this matters is because this blood of Jahad enhances a princess's physical capabilities. Probably outside of that too, their Shinsu abilities and whatnot, but especially their physical capabilities. This is told sometimes, but mostly shown through the princesses. Because you can look at someone like Dorsey, where it's very obvious that physically she's really gifted, but even Anak, right, who only has 50% of the blood, Anak Jr. anyway, is able to overpower most anybody during Season 1, and in Season 2, with only 50% of the blood that a normal princess would have, she's on par with Kunran, who is a direct descendant. So it's obvious that this blood physically enhances these princesses. But not only does it physically enhance these princesses, it makes them powerhouses. My main example of this is Season 1, in Dorsey versus Quant. Now I know what you're thinking, Quant was holding back. Maybe he was, but the whole hide-and-seek test,
they're not allowed to exert all their power on floors like that and stuff too. They're quite literally, I think, limited by contracts and stuff too. They can't exert all their strength. I think I have an idea of where he's going with this, but I would argue there is a lot of external variables that you're not considering in terms of like the time period in which he made it, him maybe changing his mind about the discrepancy of power between rankers and regulars, things of that nature. There's a lot of people who really think that Bam pushed Meal Love to like the brink of his power in the beginning of Season 2 because of the optics of how it looked. And if you don't really dive into the detail and minutia and kind of understand all of the everything in totality, that fight could mislead you. So like I would argue be careful here, because I think a lot, I'm gonna be very honest, a lot of the people that watch this stuff are not particularly great at understanding storytelling and narratives, and I think this is something that can like mislead them a little bit. But let me hear what you're gonna say first. Let me not put words in your mouth.
Handicap for Quant wasn't even necessarily that he's going to hold back physically, it's that he's only allowed to use one bang of Shinsu, right? And he's using this bang to like melt into the shadow, but he's not using it to like enhance his attacks. And we can see with Hots even, Hots is able to hold Quant in place for a moment or two, right? And Hots is just like a normal guy. He's just really strong because of his training with the sword and as a blacksmith and whatnot. The son of a blacksmith, right? So it's different. It's different when a ranker cannot use Shinsu.
I think this is I don't know. I would argue this is a perspective thing. I really don't think Quant was trying majorly any capacity and couldn't exert his power because of the role he had to play there as a. I don't want to call him a test admin or whatever, but like I understand what you're trying to say though, because especially with the Dorsey thing, if he can't Shinsu boost and he's just at the level of a ranker and the princess's power of blood takes him to have the physicality of a ranker, she would, and as athletically, so to speak, she'd be able to keep up. So I don't think your point is wrong. I don't know if I don't see it. My point of view is not the same as yours. Because then if I look at it that way too, then I have to agree that Juvio Grace at the beginning of Season 2 as an E-rank regular was pushing Meal Love to the brink, and that's not true.
Kun even threatens Quant when Quant and Kun are on the bridge saying, are you going to even survive this fall? Because you can't use Shinsu, right? You may be a ranker, but like, is your body tough enough? Now, obviously, Kun was doing mind games, and Quant was easily able to survive the fall. But the point is, when a ranker doesn't have Shinsu, they only have their bodies. Right? Now, Quant's body is like tough as steel because he climbed the entire tower and he became a ranker. Sure, obviously, right? But in Dorsey versus Quant proves that when Quant isn't using Shinsu, they are almost on par. You can argue that Quant is holding back all you want, but Dorsey is able to steal his tag without him noticing, hit the button, and win the test for them. Quant didn't want to lose that game, and yet Dorsey won, right? And we can see later on in the Name Hunt station, when Dorsey and Bomb are on the bridge, and Dorsey completely outruns Bomb, and Bomb is like, oh my gosh, I forgot she's a princess.
Okay, so they weren't
right?
using
Her physical
Shinsu.
capabilities are a
they
step
just couldn't keep
above.
up. But
Yo, Future Joe here. Bomb literally says it's hard to keep up with her without Shinsu. And I know it could be like, well, Bomb has gotten better as time goes on. But all we've really seen is him training the orb, training his Shinsu loop, training the Black March powers in the...
No. You can't say that. You know that he worked. They actually forced him to work on his bases because that was going to be my argument. This Bam and the Bam that we see now are not even in the same ballpark of capabilities, physicality, and Shinsu ability. We're not going to do that. We're not gonna, you came with the future saying he said hold on, time warp. And he came, nah, we're not. I'm not giving you that one.
The red voice, like it's not physically changing his body, right? Unless he's
his physicality is getting stronger because with the battlefield to battlefield stuff with the Vankel 2, you saw him coming back bleeding and dropping, which means things were actually pushing him physically. And Bam's Shinsu resistance from the moment he walked in the tower was like extremely high, where like the steel fish eel, talk about the ball thing, he was able to move without any resistance. Like Shinsu, he has a high Shinsu resistance and density. I think I kind of understand the general argument here because it's like if you remove any of the external powers that Bam could exert and he's not using Shinsu, his natural body is not as powerful, so he can't defend himself the same way. I agree with that. But the concept of Bam not being a physical powerhouse is, to me, asinine. It's completely wrong. I don't agree with that. He's one of the physically strongest characters that's currently alive. I do not think that he's weak physically.
He cannot keep up with Dorsey without using Shinsu. That's my point. Let's move to Bomb. Bomb is somebody who, without Shinsu, is not as strong as we'd like to believe. We can see this at the workshop battle when Bomb is fighting Amigo Chars. Shibisu and the team put that Shinsu ring on Bomb, and Bomb isn't able to use Shinsu, and Amigo Chars surprisingly almost takes out Bomb. I wouldn't say he was gonna win. Maybe almost is too strong of a word. Bomb is able to win in the end, but Bomb struggles. He struggles against Amigo Chars, right? No offense to him, but Bomb is an irregular. Yo, Future Joe again. Bomb has to use the Thorn to beat Amigo Chars, and maybe he didn't have to, whatever. But physically, I'm telling you, man, Bomb by himself, just his physical body, not as strong as we believe. He was able to go up against Mule Love and all this stuff and scratch Yurik Mizuno, but without Shinsu, he was almost helpless, right?
No. Don't bring up the Mizuno. You're gonna upset me. I'm not touching that.
So afterward, Bob went and got martial arts training.
That's
got all those certificates. He obviously is a powerful martial artist, or I should say, a skilled martial artist. And Jin Sung has trained him and all of that. But the point is, without Shinsu, Bomb's body is not anything that special. No red or blue press, no souls, right? None of that stuff. It's
okay. So here's where I probably disagree. If you want to argue that Bam without any boosting, any enhancement, is not as powerful and can't defend and fight the same way, I agree with you. The idea that this Bam currently is not 10 times way more powerful physically than the Bam that we saw earlier I don't think is a good point. I don't think it's a good hill to stand on, because we even know that he's done things I think before he fought Daniel, even towards the Hell Train, didn't he go and experience a bunch of different types of martial arts in dojo and whatnot? Bam is not just getting better at Shinsu control and learning how to use the red Thressa and all those things, the thorn fragments and blah 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 yada yada, burn souls. He's not just learning to do that too. All of his base stats, so let's just say, I think a lot of you guys like Pokemon, so his attack, defense, special attack, special defense, speed, HP, all of that is going up in tandem too. You can't act like if Bam right now had to fight the Bam of old with no Shinsu, that this Bam isn't whooping Season 2 Bam's ass. You can't say that. It's not true.
Just his body. There's nothing crazy special about an irregular's body, right? Look at Rachel or somebody like that. It's not just because they came from outside, suddenly their bodies are on another level.
Okay, Rachel's a bitch. But Bam's body, you know that he had extremely high Shinsu resistance as the moment he walked in. And they all called him a monster from the get-go. Even Lororo's little test couldn't push Bam out. He was different from the moment he walked in. He just didn't look the part because he wasn't erect, but
I'm not saying Bomb's body is weak, but the fact that he's not using Shinsu means his body is much more normal than it otherwise would be if he was fighting against White and using all these powers. So, keeping that in mind, Lilial Jahad taking Bomb as a princess and a member of the 10 great families, which is kind of 2 points in her favor when it comes to physical capability, and Bomb is doing nothing but this, of course he's going to react, right? It would make no sense if he was just like, oh, I don't even feel it, right? Because that's not the point. The point is, he's able to fight rankers and high rankers under very special circumstances, using Leviathan, using the Thorn sometimes, but in the nest it was mostly like Red and Blue Frissa, and the Black March is still inside of him, right? All of these things are what allow him to take on these high rankers. If Bomb and Jin Sung just like sparred and didn't use any like external abilities, Jin Sung would wipe the floor with Bomb, right? If it was just like an arm wrestling match,
See, I don't agree with that.
or maybe, you know, they're just boxing or something, Jin Sung would wipe the floor with Bomb, because Bomb is still inexperienced. He's still climbing the tower, right? He has all of these special abilities which help him, but when it comes to just his body, I don't like the insinuation that he's a step above everybody else and like princesses are nothing compared to him now, because like Jin Sung and Cha.
No, I don't think he has the strongest body. I do want to make that clear. I think someone like a Caliban or other people have a natural, just like naturally, without having to like do anything to add defense. I do think someone like a Caliban is naturally more physically defensive than Bam is currently. I do agree with that.
Both say if he really fought and really took her seriously, she would stand no chance, right? Bomb wasn't taking her seriously. He chose not to fight back and not to use Shinsu. My whole point with this is that princesses' bodies are a step above, and Bomb's body is not necessarily anything that special when there's no Shinsu involved. And we've seen that throughout the series. And again, he's not trying, right? And Dorsey's called a tank for a reason. Lilial and Lilial are princesses. Anak has 50% and is still a beast. Like, I feel like this shouldn't be as big of a deal as people are making it out to be, keeping all of that in mind. My last point is this. If Dorsey and Charlie, right, the ranker Charlie, for example, had an arm wrestling match without Shinsu, I'm positive Dorsey would completely wipe the floor with him, right? You can look at Quant, I would say the same thing. Like, if Dorsey right now and Quant had an arm wrestling match, I think Dorsey would win. I don't think, like, you know...
I think to some degree we have to, like, take it case by case. It depends on what that ranker is known for. Maybe, like, some Ha family ranker, even if they're just ranker level, and then Dorsey, like, obviously even as a regular, her body is as powerful as a ranker. If that guy is known for being like really physically strong or having great arm strength, he could win. But I get your point here. It's not you're not wrong.
The climbing the tower, maybe your body is adjusting to the Shinsu. I'm sure that's part of it. But like, there's nothing like becoming a ranker suddenly earns you this really tough body or something. I don't think it works like that. And I feel like the insinuation that Bomb should be beating everybody physically just because he's beaten other high rankers at like these extreme circumstances with all these abilities and Shinsu, I don't think you can compare the two personally. Those are my thoughts. Let me know what you think. I'd be curious to hear your thoughts. Thanks for watching. More content coming very.
Okay. Well, good video. Give me a sec. That was a good video, by the way. I really enjoyed that. That was well put together. There's like a couple of things I do want to say. There's one thing I have to say, Joe. I hope you don't take this the wrong way, but you do this thing sometimes where just because you will see something happen earlier in a story, you'll make a correlation of why it makes sense for it to resurface in the way that it did later on. I'm gonna give you an example from the big discussion that we did. Milios like snapped it like crazy, so I didn't get to make this point the way I wanted to make, but it's with the Hots being like, Bam, I gotta be strong for Bam, this Bam thing and blah blah blah, and you brought up early, like way back, I think you said that, I think if I remember correctly, because one thing I give you credit for is you just remember the content of the story way better than most people I know. You and Haku are really good at this, where you were like, Hachu was the one that said something along as like, we have to like get Rachel for Bam or something of the sort. So like that one scene to me does not justify him way later on saying that thing. You still need certain things to happen and small things to be set up so that I'm going to take it in a seamless manner. I still think that with storytelling and narrative structure, you can't just kind of have a one-off thing and say, boom, you see that one time it did it. That's why it makes sense here. I'd argue a little bit here with the season 1 examples. You've done that because I think there's a lot of intersecting variables that you have to consider when talking about it. The time period, how much of the story he had really kind of mapped out and thought for himself, and the discrepancy that he really wanted between rankers and regulars and rankers and whatnot. And you have to admit, in terms of the way that he tells the story now, when the progression of power, there's been a bit of a paradigm shift. So using the lens and context of season 1 is not the same thing we can use in season 3 because things have altered slightly and have been different. That, at least that's my opinion. That's my viewpoint on that. So I want to say that. Secondly, it's the optics. Actually, you'd be surprised. I agree with what you're saying. I agree with you. Like, Bam, no Shinsu, not trying, just defending himself, no malicious intent, he does not want to hurt her. Him getting pushed back is probably not as crazy as we think because she's using Shinsu, she's going all out, blah, blah, blah. I think for us, it's the optics and the logic that's not making any sense. Who does she think she is? Why is she defying her family head? Why can't she just go and be like, oh, do this for me? It's like, okay, cool. And it's like, how could you not tell that you're not even affecting this guy in any real shape or form? Can you not tell how is Bam so much more powerful than she is even without Shinsu? He can make it look weak, or is she just arrogant? It's just a personality. Like, it's just, After you see him beat and absorb White, beat or like hurt Calivan and, you know, Holland draw blood from him, the last thing we want to see is him struggling like this. It looks to me like SIU was trying to force the idea and concept of still having people in the tower who don't really know Bam look down on him and think he's just some regular C rank regular and blah blah blah. And to me, it's like it's not moving me because I don't think this is a good way to do that. I could understand someone being like, Juvio Grace is overrated or something, or I don't believe the tales. I get that. I think there's ways you can do it. I just think that this is not a way that works for me. But anyways, I'm not gonna ramble any longer than I want to. I'm still on vacation. Y'all got me working on my vacation, on my break. But good video, brother. But ultimately, I do think Bam is physically one of the strongest characters in Tower God, Shinsu or no Shinsu. That is my belief currently at this point in time. Let me know what you guys think. You guys have yourselves a mighty fine day, and I'm gonna be out. Peace. You already know I gotta show love to the Patreon gang. Yes, sir. Shout out to the certified BAM lovers, my CBLs. Big love to the Priest of Fire. I greatly appreciate you guys' support, but especially shout out to my 5th Zen God. Shout out to Simi, Scobe, Revenant, Miles, Lucky Roo, Lazy Dragon, Chris, Johnny Rogers, Irene Sharda, Triss, David Langstaff, Childish Nujabes, Alan, AJ, Abdel, and 5:28 a.m. Your support is greatly appreciated, and thank you.